How important is it to pay yourself first? Welcome to the Sarah Finkelstein Show, Daily Money Wisdom. Today is January 27, 2022. Boy, this month is just whizzing by. We all have bills, right? Tons of bills. Car payments, car insurance, mortgage payments, maybe rent, electricity, food, clothing. The list goes on and on. And for many Americans, there's too much month at the end of the paycheck. In other words, they've already spent their full month's earnings and the month is not yet over. This is very common, even for high wage earners. You wouldn't think that people who earn $250,000 or $500,000 a year have too much month at the end of the paycheck. But you know what happens? We adjust our lifestyle to our income. So the more money we make, the more money we spend, the more lavish a lifestyle that we create for ourselves. And you'd be surprised how many of these individuals that are high earners have very little saved aside for their future. So what can you do? What can you do about this? If you fall into this, you probably want to listen up. The first thing you could do is take advantage of what it is free money. Now, what do I mean by free money? Free money is tied to your 401k plan, your company-sponsored qualified retirement plan. Maybe your company matches 3% or 5% of your earnings into your 401k. Well, gee, that is free money. And we should all be taking advantage of free money because where else are you going to get free money? Now, of course, you could put in more than the 3 or 5%. And that's something that you need to look at to see what makes the most sense for you, your family, and your particular situation. What else can you do to find the money? It's important to pay yourself first before you pay all of your other monthly bills. You have to schedule it in there as if it was just another bill. Because every bill you have, you do pay, right? So why don't you designate paying yourself first as just another bill? And if you say, well, gee, I just don't have the money. Well, guess what? It's a matter of discipline and creating a budget on paper. Take a few hours on the weekend and sit down and put on paper all of your expenses. We all have fixed expenses. That would be your mortgage or your rent or your car payment or your health insurance premiums. Those are all fixed expenses. And then you have expenses that vary from month to month, whether it's entertainment, whether it's clothing, cosmetics, the beauty salon, whatever it may be. And make a tally and see where you're at. And put down there too about 10% to pay yourself first. And by doing that, you will start a savings program. Another thing you can do to improve your situation is look at your insurance deductibles. If you own a home, you probably have homeowners insurance. Do you really need the lowest deductible? When was the last time you actually put in a claim for your homeowner's insurance? Maybe you don't need to have the lowest possible deductible. Maybe you could increase your deductible and your premiums would go down. And that would be another savings for you. You can do the same thing with your auto insurance. You can do the same thing possibly with your health insurance. Take a look at your deductibles, and you could probably save money by raising those deductibles. Now, this is not a one size fits all, but this is just a rule of thumb to go with you and share with you. But of course, everybody's situation is different. We understand that. Another thing you could do is wait for a sale. Yeah, it's great, it's exciting to get the latest iPhone when it comes out, but do you really, really need the latest contraption? Or could you wait a while until maybe the price goes down? Same thing goes for computers. When they first come out, they're priced higher and then they go on sale. So take advantage of sales. And same thing goes for clothing. One of my favorite stores is Chico's. My mother-in-law, my late mother-in-law, had introduced me to Chico's when I was dating my husband. And she created a monster because I absolutely love Chico's for their clothing, for their costume jewelry, and they do have sales. And I always look for the sale. I would rather buy the item on sale than buying it at full price. Another thing you can do to find the money to pay yourself first. How often do you go to lunch? Some people go to lunch every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Well, how about you brown bag it sometimes? Start out with once a week. Just brown bag it once a week and see how much money that saves you. It won't hurt you, and you'll probably end up eating healthier. My dad used to say, the best food is at home. And for the most part, he was right, except for the foods that you don't cook at home, right? I know the feeling. Another thing that you could do is maybe a side hustle. Maybe you have a hobby that you're really great at that you could also make money at. A lot of people do Uber and Lyft and find these sideline gigs to bring in extra money. And that extra money could be added to your savings. So put on your thinking cap and find some avenues where you could either make more money, save more money, but sock it away. As a kid, did you have a piggy bank? How did it feel when you were able to add coins to your piggy bank? And before you knew it, the piggy bank was really heavy. Well, I'd like to share this book with you that I came across. This was written by a financial advisor who unfortunately is no longer with us. But he did have a chapter in his book called Pay Yourself First. That's how important and powerful this is. And the quote is, if you don't see it, you can't spend it. And that's so true. If you get into the habit of saving money, you don't see it, you cannot spend it. So pay yourself first, just like any other bill. And it's unfortunate that we tend to spend whatever we have. And we know that a lot of people do this. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people. The more they have, the more that they spend. But we should be saving more for our futures. You need to protect your savings from yourself. Sounds funny, doesn't it? But it's so true. And we live in a society of instant gratification. We want what we want and we want it now. We don't want to wait. And that's an issue. That's a challenge that gets in the way of our paying ourselves first and saving for our future. So have you heard of the three-legged retirement stool? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But one of those legs is your own personal savings. When you retire, you will be relying on your Social Security, your pension, if you have one, and your own personal savings. So start saving, start today, make little adjustment along the way, discipline yourself to do it, and you'll get it done. So to summarize, there are many ways for you to find the money that you think you don't have. By getting a sideline gig, by brown bagging your lunch every now and then, take a look at your insurance deductibles. There's so many different ways that you can find the money to improve your financial future. Thank you for joining.
Hey, wait, what about a question from the studio audience?
Oh, that's my husband. Yes, dear.
Well, you had mentioned in the beginning that most people have too much month at the end of the check. Probably you were referring to people that are an employee and most of their primary income as an employee. But what about all those millions of Americans that are self-employed? You think that their 2-month month at the end of the check is greater or smaller, and they have more time, right? When they're self-employed and they have their own business, those guys have more time or less time? I heard that they have less time because they're busy running their business versus they can't stop at 5 o'clock.
This is so true. People who have their own businesses work many hours, sometimes 12 hours a day. And they also may be in the same bind where they're spending everything they make.
And one of those line items on, you said people pay their bills and their insurance and their food and mortgage. I'm sure you meant to also say that people also regularly, besides paying themselves maybe first, they probably pay their charities or their church and their faith-based institutions first, and they might forget themselves or vice versa.
So true. I'm glad you brought that up. But we all have goals that are important to us, and it's up to us to make it happen. I'm Sarah Finkelstein, and I will see you tomorrow.